At 7 o'clock, May 13th, 2020, 7 o'clock, I call the Lisle Library Board meeting for May 13th, 2020. Order. Roll call.
Bartelli.
Marge?
Marjorie Bartelli.
Oh, here. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thomas Duffy.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Here. Norton.
Well, she's here.
She's here. Hey, Jenny Norton.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Sostek.
Here.
Here. Take this time, next item on the agenda is for opportunities for visitors to speak. I see nobody. Nobody is here to speak. I do know, I think we all were emailed today. A couple of patrons were asking about curbside services. The director will talk about that a little bit later on in the meeting. Next item on the agenda is just the assignments for reviewing monthly accounts payable. I approved the March billings in April, which we will wind up moving it forward here a little bit later in the consent agenda. And I also signed the April billings in this month of May. Next month, Trustee Sullivan and myself will review the May billings in June. If that's not possible, we're still closed. We'll just keep doing what we've been doing, and I'll just sign the May billings, and then the board will still approve in June. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I have a motion to pass the consent agenda.
This is Trustee Duffy moving to approve the consent agenda.
Secretary Swistak seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, or any changes or to the consent agenda?
None.
Roll call, please.
Thomas Duffy.
Aye.
Emily Sostek.
Aye.
Karen Larson. Aye. Jenny Norton.
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is committee reports. Is there any finance committee report?
No.
Personnel policy? Or do you want to add anything, or you want to wait till we get to the?
I was just going to say that the meeting that we had scheduled for March 23rd was canceled. But we do have some policies coming towards the board tonight.
Physical plan.
I have some questions. This is Trustee Bartelli. Tatiana, since Beth is not in on the meeting.
She's here. She's here. She's just off.
Oh, she is. I'm sorry, I can't see her. Hi, Beth. I have a couple questions. I read your report. I don't know if we have the time now to do it, or we should wait until Beth's report.
If it's in regards to her report, it's probably best just to wait till we get to that.
Okay.
Something else, personnel policy.
Well, depending on.
There's something else with physical plan. Now's the time. If it's something with Beth's report, I would just wait till then.
Okay, thank you.
Are you good then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, the facilities options, the CCF update. I'll turn it over to Director Weinstein.
Okay. Mr. Mark Rogers supplied something in a document within the board packet that I thought you were going to take this, so sorry. That's okay. So this was something that was proposed before we closed, and obviously this was prepared should we not have closed. And I'm trying to find it now. There we are. Okay, so CCS broke down some of the discussion points that we had last March into downtown development options, the design consultant RFQ, and then financial considerations. And they are willing to move forward with kind of a fill in the blank template, but I'm not sure if discussing this now is premature or not. I know President Hummel had some more comments regarding this, but maybe we should open it up to for discussion regarding this particular document.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, and I'll open it up in a second, is I think the document's good, but with the situation we've got right now, might be a little early. I think we still, as a board, need to discuss like where our priorities are, since things have changed since the March meeting. So I think, the board, probably next month, we should have a discussion like what we want to do with the facility going forward. I mean, we'll see where we're at also in June as far as if we're open or we're still closed or partially closed. So, we'll see where we're at as a library, and quite frankly, as a state in some ways. I know probably like the space allocation, we'll have to look at that going forward. And I know, we'll probably be reaching out to the village as well here in the upcoming week and trying to see where they're at too with downtown development. So with that, I will open it up for discussion, and I will do it alphabetically just to keep it simple. We'll go through at least once. If we need to go ask for any further comment after we go through it once. So Trustee Bartelli, do you have any questions or comments on the CCS update we have in our packet page?
Page 72, correct?
Correct, yes.
No, again, it gets back to I'll wait regarding physical plant. So at the moment, I don't have any questions.
Trustee Duffy.
I agree with your comments, President Hummel, related to, in essence, postponing the conversation another month. I mean, gosh, I don't even know what's still on the table or not. I mean, I don't know kind of what development would occur in this type of economic turmoil and all that. So, I mean, unfortunately, this is a huge curveball, but I agree. I mean, just kind of have to see how everything moves in the next few months.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to try to reach out to the village here in the next week and see, what they're hearing and seeing out there. So, so we have to keep that in mind. Trustee Larson.
Yeah, I think we need to wait and see what's going to happen.
Trustee Norton.
Just echoing what Trustee Duffy said, big curveball indeed, and there's nothing we really have the option to do but wait. The alternatives as well, whether we were going to pursue downtown or, expand or, do further upgrades within the existing footprint. We just don't have enough information right now that a lot of things have changed from a month ago.
Thank you. Trustee Sullivan. Trustee Sullivan, you might be on mute.
Hello?
There you are. Do you have any?
Okay, I guess I'm just concerned because I don't see the village having the same revenue stream as normal, because I'm sure, you know, they're losing a lot of their revenue due to businesses being closed. So I hate to be presumptuous, but I don't think they're going to be in a position to spend money funding a garage. So
Well, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
until we hear from them, I think if they don't do that, I think the FNC is going to kind of fall apart, because I think what FNC put together was predicated upon the village funding that, I think I'm speaking correctly.
Well, I think when we last, if I'm not mistaken, I know that the TIF consultant for the village presented the developer with the report. And if I'm not mistaken, the director is, or the developer is reviewing that TIF study from the consultant. So that's one of the things we need to talk to the village about. If they've heard from that developer, see what feedback they've gotten, or if they're still interested because of the economic situation that we're in. You know, development was mostly privately funded. So, I mean, if they still got the funding, it might still be going forward. I don't know. We'll have to find out about the village once we talk to them.
And there might be other developers also, we're not sure, so it'd be interesting to
Yeah,
connect with the village.
like Director Weinstein, I know in one of the village,
Hey, Tom, you're breaking up really badly, so I only catch about every third word, but Tatiana comes through really clearly.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Okay. The other thing is, I know in one of the village development reports in the last month, I think there was a mention of another developer, but I don't know any details on that. So again, that might be something we'll have to find out in the coming days, next week or so.
I'm sorry, I heard about another developer and then you went away.
I'll reiterate, and it might be due to because you're on a phone. I'm not sure, because we're not having any issues, and I don't think anybody else is, but I will reiterate if I'm clear. President Hummel mentioned that in a previous board packet from the village, he did see something regarding a second developer or another developer who's shown interest in the downtown area. And so hopefully we can connect with the village next week and get an update on that.
Do you have anything else, Trustee Sullivan, or on this?
Did you have anything else, Trustee Sullivan?
No, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Swistan.
I agree with what Trustee Duffy and Treasurer Norton said about just, I feel like we really need to just wait and see, and revisit this next month, just because there's so many unknowns with what's going on.
So we made it through it. Does anybody else have anything else to further comment on this topic? Liz, no?
Nope.
Okay. We will move on, and we'll touch base again next month on this topic. Next item is staff reports. First one's director's report. I'll let the director talk. I think she's got other things she wants to add on top of the director's report, and then I'll open it up for questions and comments.
Okay. Thank you. So as we all know, COVID-19 has touched all public libraries in our area and around, and via many online meetings I've had with other local library directors. All of us are reorganizing staff as well as duties to continue to serve the public throughout the closure while making sure patrons and staff are safe. So libraries right now are considering curbside services. They're limited services, but they are offering this now. And the top consideration is the safety of both patrons and staff. There are some other considerations, and those include the physical layout of the building, the parking lots, and then staffing, as well as quarantine time for materials, adequate PPE, as well as clear directives for the public. And on May 7th, I attended a system-wide conference call, and the majority of the libraries in and around DuPage County are opting for curbside services to start on May 18th through June 1st. And I do know that Naperville Public Library launched on May 11th. So the department directors and I have been discussing the best practices for curbside, and we are looking to launch on May 18th. We will post guidelines and promote the program via social media as well as on our website. But we want to make sure we hammer out all the details, because it's very important that we have clear guidelines so that neither the patrons or the staff are confused by the process. And also to make sure that we're not under or overwhelmed with an uneven workflow. We want to continue to keep our book drops open and also continue to quarantine the materials in the manner in which we've been doing so since we've closed. So having that structure and schedule in place is going to allow for safe practices throughout the program. I think that's key. And then in the packet, there's a chronology of developments that have happened at the library during the closure. It's pretty detailed, but I will just summarize some of those events here today. So prior to the closing, we installed 6 touch-free antibacterial foam units around the facility, and we ordered as much PPE as we possibly could before closing. But since the closing on March 13th, we've received more PPE, which includes gloves and surgical masks. We've also ordered acrylic barriers for the public service desks. And just so you know, so while on premises, staff wear face masks and gloves if they're handling materials and if they're working in close proximity with each other. And when vendors come to the building to do work while we're closed, they are also required to wear protective gear. And then throughout the closure, I've implemented a sequenced staffing schedule to maintain social distancing protocol. The library also extended all library card expiration dates and have remotely registered patrons for cards throughout the closure. And in the packet, there is a new card registration chart showing that we've registered 163 new patrons as of May 2nd. And that's all happened while we've been closed. We've also arranged that overdue materials would not generate any fines during the closure period. And all departments have continued to keep interacting with patrons via email. And our adult services staff have been making courtesy home delivery patron calls. And the home delivery coordinator has contacted over 60 patrons every 2 weeks, and they've really enjoyed hearing her voice. So that's been going well. Staff have also worked on a variety of ways to digitally connect with patrons. While we've been closed, we've created numerous videos. I'm sure you've seen some of them. I think we're over 70 right now, or we'll be there soon. We've also scheduled staff to regularly attend to financial tasks, vendor communications, updating the website, of course, IT management, online coursework for all staff, and then facility management, which means we run the elevator every day we've been in the building, flushing toilets, running the sinks, and then, of course, caring for our 2 turtles. Staff are also assigned to pick up the mail from the post office. And just recently ended, but we launched a virtual spring read for adults, teens, and kids. And that entire program was online. It ran for 4 weeks, and we engaged 154 readers, and patrons logged over 44,000 minutes. And staff are now planning for a larger online summer read program. Staff continued to schedule on-site vendor work, such as Save a Tree, and they came out to remove 8 dead locust trees. And the IT staff have updated all the public PCs on the floors. Updates included Chrome, Windows, and various hardware replacements. And a new public printer was installed on the adult floor. We also updated all of our wireless access points around the building. And staff are also planning for a reconfiguration of space on the floor for technology when we eventually open. During the closure, we also mailed a one-page Access from Home edition newsletter to all district homes, and that highlighted our remote access and remote card registration and different facts about our closure. And we had a special cleaning of the facility. They were assigned to do a deep clean of the building, and that sanitation occurred over a 3-day period. And just a note that we did suspend services with them upon our closure on March 13th. So that deep clean was a special clean, and it did not impact our budgeted amounts for the regular cleaning services for this year. Our HVAC vendor came out to do the quarterly maintenance for the air conditioning units, and as well as replaced all of the filters in the building. Chicago Metro Fire and Coley Elevator came out to perform fire safety checks throughout the building and to assess the functionality of all the mechanical rooms in the building. And then lastly, the new bin shelving units for the youth services department were delivered and installed. The YS staff were scheduled in staggered shifts to offload the existing shelves, and YS staff and the facility monitors disassembled all of the shelves. And YS staff had begun to reshelve all the books onto the new shelves. And in fact, they're upstairs right now, shelving all those books. There are a lot to organize up there. And I just have to say, in conclusion, I'm just really proud of the work all the staff are doing during the closure and coordinating and staffing with all the workloads so that we're not overwhelmed when we eventually open up again. It really helped provide for a smooth operation thus far. So continuing to receive those shipments, do the tech updates, do the invoicing, quarantining the materials, shelving the materials, and emptying the book drops on a regular basis have made things really run efficiently throughout. I've also updated the board for all of those who are watching this throughout the closure, and the packet also has the photo collections that have accompanied the board updates. And that's my report.
All right. Before I open it up, I just have to want to thank the director and staff for the job keeping us updated. But I think we're one of the few libraries that kept the book drop open during this time.
Yes, I'm not aware of many local libraries that have had their book drops open the whole time. And I will tell you that in my communications with the other library directors, I've encouraged them pre-curbside to open up as soon as possible their book drops, because the library, our library was, I won't say shocked, but we were surprised at the regular inflow of materials. Patrons have been depositing and returning materials on a regular basis, and every time we've emptied the book drops, it's almost been about the same amount of materials every time. So we're very happy we kept things open regarding returns, and that allowed for very structured quarantining and then structured shelving. So yes.
So I'll open up for questions and comments on the director's report. And again, we'll do it alphabetically. So Trustee Bartelli, any questions or comments on the director's report?
No, very thorough and lengthy. Thank you.
Trustee Duffy.
You know, one question, Tatiana, and this is more to how Naperville is currently doing the curbside. Do you just, what is like the general process by which a patron experiences that curbside? You don't have to go in each level of detail, but is it, you know, do they get out of their car to get the books? Are the books delivered by the staff to the car? I mean, or is it just like a bag where you just go like the Dairy Queen off of Maple where they just have it on a bench and you grab it? Not that I would know, that you just grab it. Do you have any insight into what they have been doing?
I believe that they are putting them on a book cart for pickup at their entrance, but I'm not sure they're doing it at all the branches. And it may be different at each branch because each library's parking lot or drive up is configured differently, and every library is different. When I was on the system I call, some libraries have drive up windows, which makes it a lot easier. Some libraries parking lots aren't really set up for a drop off, so they are reorienting people to a different area in their parking lot. We may do that here. Again, we're still hammering out all the details to make sure it's smooth and safe, and so that we don't have any backups and things like that. But what I imagine, and I don't want to speak before the department heads and I really put everything down in terms of guidelines for the public, but it will be touch-free in terms of patrons being able to get their materials. And we will have areas delineated for cars to drive into, and then we may bring things out on a go kart too. And then we'll do it all by phone, so when patrons arrive, they can call into a specific extension, and staff will be ready to bring out their materials, called runners. So more details to come very soon. Again, we'll be posting all of the directions online and via social media in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Trustee Larson?
Yeah, Naperville, they're signing up for times when they can do it. My neighbor works for Naperville, so she was kind of going through like how they do it, but they've had a huge outpouring response-wise from people in the community that, you know, like they had to cut it off on certain days because they just had so many people that wanted to pick things up.
Right.
But, yeah.
And I heard just through the grapevine, yeah, there's been a little confusion on some of that because they were the first library to really do this in the area. And so, yes, we will have an online pickup. We will utilize our calendar program where people can reserve a space. We're still working out the details for that. So we will have an online element. If people want to call in, they can also call in to let us know they're here. But again, we'll have all of the directions very soon. So yes, people will be able to reserve some time to do that.
That's it. Trustee Norton?
I'll try to make it brief, but I do want to say very enthusiastically how really amazing I think the work of Director Weinstein and the staff have been since the situation unfolded. I mean, this is obviously a great director's report, but beneath the report is hours upon hours of new work that didn't exist before, staff members and the director pivoting from what their regular duties were to things they've never done before. In the history of the LLD, there's never been a situation like this. So for all the people involved to pivot their responsibilities from things that can no longer be done to things that can be done and should be done and must be done, and researching and developing new strategies like curbside pickup and, you know, figuring out how to sanitize materials and the building and everything else in ways never done before is really extraordinary. And you know, we've seen feedback from the public on the things they'd like us to do, and curbside pickup was certainly one of them. And certain members of the community called out that Naperville was doing it sooner, and you know, so be it. But you know, I trust the director here. You know, very prudent and very responsible, and does everything and articulates everything that she's doing very well to ensure that, you know, first and foremost, the safety of the staff and patrons, to make sure that we do this the right way, that when we reopen the right way, and they're working on the plans for that as well. So I really just appreciate everything that's being done by this group. I think it's something that we all as community members should be proud of, this library district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sullivan?
I guess I would just say I agree with everything that Trustee Norton said. And I'm just delighted and excited that we're going to do curbside pickup. And it sounds like having other people work out some of the ups and downs, you know, letting them do it and work out all those kinks is the way to go. So that's it.
Thank you. Trustee Swistak?
Just kind of want to echo the same sentiment that I'm really impressed with all the work that the director and staff have been doing over the last 2 months in this completely unprecedented time. And I really appreciate the communication and the updates that we're receiving, and just having the materials available. And my family especially is really enjoying all the online materials through Hoopla and Overdrive and all of that. So just kudos.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add, or we good on this? Oh, it's Trustee Duffy.
Just more of a confirmation for my own anxiety. We have enough PPE, correct, for this current, like, you feel comfortable that you have enough for the staff over the next couple of months to that effect? Something
We
in,
do. I'm sorry. We do, and if we don't, we will have to slow down, but I will never put staff or patrons in any danger. But I am pretty confident that we'll be okay moving forward. We have ongoing shipments, so we should be okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Sullivan, since I can't see, are you good on this?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I didn't know if you had anything to add, or are we good? Are you good on this
Good,
topic?
we're good.
All right. Next one is Assistant Director's Report. Beth, did you have something you wanted to add, or you just want me to open up?
No, just I would open it up.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the Assistant Director's Report? We'll go alphabetically, and I know Trustee Bartelli, I think you had a question in the beginning, so if you want to ask, now's the time.
May I comment now? Oh, okay. I'm just wondering, Assistant Director McQuinlan, you mentioned that we did the spring preventative maintenance on the HVAC, and that was while we were closed, correct?
Yes.
I guess I don't understand the process for the HVAC duct sensitivity work. I understand that you said it was closed, so they're on hold. But if they were in to do the seasonal work, that would have been one thing that we may have been able to take care of.
Is that, they're two separate,
I realize.
I'm answering for Beth, and if you want to update, one is for fire safety and one is for just regular maintenance. But if you want to add more to that, Beth, she's coming.
Yeah, she's coming. Give her a second.
Okay, Johnson Controls is gonna do the duct sensitivity work. That's gonna take several Johnson Controls staff members. It's also gonna take an electrician to work together. And the last time I talked with them, they're trying to figure out, when they can do this. They've gotta have social distancing in that mechanical room. So that's kind of a wait. Monica's the one that does our preventive maintenance for the HVAC system. And they come quarterly, and Tatiana mentioned they change filters, lubricate things, and they got the air conditioning going.
Okay.
That help?
That helps. Thank you very much. I have another question. I just trying to understand, since Physical Plant Committee hasn't met, and I reviewed the list of things that we had to do from the FQC report. I'm not saying we can do it now, but what is involved with one of the things that we had on the list that needed to be done was the electrical fixture replacement. Is that also require a lot of workmen being in the facility, or is it something that we could address?
That's one electrician, and they're due here next Thursday. And they'll be in the storage room, and they won't be around the staff.
Okay. And then the other one that was, I know it's a major project, but it's, you mentioned in your report the April 29th storm with the 10 inches of water in the south retention pond.
Yes.
Cooling. I assume that drained fairly quickly.
It did. It was actually the next morning it was gone.
Okay, so actually the only next step then, if I understand it, is the rest of the drainage remediation, and that involves a major project. Isn't that the CIPP? Forget exactly the correct. The
The
restrictor?
the first little project we were gonna do was to try to do a French drain along the sidewalk on the east parking lot that would come from the entrance of the library up to like where the garbage dumpster is. So we're getting ideas on how, from different landscapers on how to do that.
And then the SIP lining, Marjorie, Vice President Bartelli, is if we have plans to remain on premises and reconfigure the piping underneath.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Beth and Tatiana.
Alrighty, Trustee Norton, any questions for Assistant Director?
First, thank you, Assistant Director McQuillan, for your report. I was interested in the paragraph where you talked about the webinar that you attended on March 30th, and I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing what the big takeaways were from that education experience.
She's getting her papers.
She'll be in, just get her stuff.
And don't want to make it too difficult. This was, I'm taking an interest in what you guys are learning about what the CDC is recommending, and what you guys are going to incorporate into your plans.
The March 30th webinar was with the museum, Institute of Museums and Libraries that talked about how to take care of library materials coming back into your building. And that's been repeated through Rails and the Illinois Library Association. They're all kind of giving us the same information, which is to quarantine. Best practice is to try to quarantine for 72 hours. And that's what we're doing. And they've recommended not wiping down books. It damages books. If you try to use an alcohol product on paper, they don't suggest using it on plastic. So instead, we are quarantining. And again, Paul Hurt from Circulation Services has also attended virtually other webinars, kind of hearing the same message. So it's good to know that we're hearing it, the same advice from different sources.
And from the circulation department too, I know they're quarantining beyond 72 hours. Originally, we were wiping down some materials with microfiber wipes with a little maybe Lisle on them and things like that. And again, when I want to call it a conference, it was a webinar. The webinar was really coming from an archival standpoint too. So they were trying to be very careful. If you had rare materials, rare books, don't use Lisle, don't use alcohol on them. But we've been trying to do the best we can with our materials, and definitely quarantining beyond the 72, just to make sure.
Thank you very much.
I think I accidentally called out the wrong name last time. Trustee Duffy, did you have any questions for the Assistant Director? No? Trustee Larson?
Yeah, how do you quarantine them? I mean, like, what is the process? I
We
know you're saying 72 hours.
So what we do, we empty the book drops. We bring them in a large bin. We put them on, have you seen the photos in the packet? We put them out on tables and we leave them there. And so we're putting them out on tables. We've had to, the tables that we have in here, we have around the library. So in different areas of the library, you've got piles of books, just letting them sit for a good 4 days. And then,
So kind of like a clean room when you think of like a pharmacy.
sure, yeah, and they just sit there. No one touches them. And when staff are working with them, when we're emptying them, we've got gloves on, we've got masks on. So we leave them there for about 4 days. Afterwards, we'll put them on book carts. That usually takes another day to organize them because they're all over the place in the Dewey Decimal System. And then the next day, we'll have staff start shelving them.
So just actually, I'm going to follow up to Trustee question. So once we do the curbside But once we start getting books in and out, is there gonna probably be like a little bit more of a lag maybe between books are getting returned and books getting recirculated out then, I would assume?
We will continue the quarantining process, absolutely. So just because we receive something on a Monday, it doesn't mean it can go out on a Tuesday. We will not be able to go out until the end of the week, if that.
Okay, so like,
So some materials will not be available.
Yeah.
So if someone puts something on hold, it may be in quarantine. If it's not, if it's on the shelf, then it can go in a bag.
so it's something that was checked out and has to be returned, it
Yep.
will probably be like, let's say a week lag.
More than likely, yes.
Questions, trustee Larson? Trustee Sullivan?
No questions. Just it's very interesting to hear about the quarantine process because I don't think people understand. They kind of have asked questions, you know, and they talk about all the unused space in the library and why don't we reopen? And I think between seeing these pictures about how all the tables have to be set up and then hearing the quarantine process explained, it kind of gives me more ammunition to explain that to people who ask me about it. So thank you.
Sure thing.
Thanks. Trustee Swistak?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions for the assistant director? Trustee Duffy?
Sorry, I apologize. It's actually not related to, it's related to the same topic, Beth and Tatiana, which is, you know, I know there are a lot of these, I know they're not within our purview, but these little libraries out in the Lisle area. Maybe one social media post or something about the same thing related to what Beth, you just talked about, kind of the quarantining, because that would be something for the people that are running those libraries, like the one that it's in my neighborhood. I've been kind of making sure, right, like that any books that come in, I take them out, but I want and quarantine them. But there are other people that may not be aware of it. I know it's not necessarily purview to us, but it may be a good community outreach to do.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with any other questions? Does anybody have any question on the department reports? There's nobody here from the departments, but if you have a question or a comment, maybe the director can answer it. If not, we can get the answer to you. Trustee Norton?
Just a quick comment to say that I really like reading them, you know, so please keep that up. I appreciate that.
Right. Next item is new business. 8A, approve LLD policy 315 loans period. Can I have a motion to approve LLD policy 315?
Secretary Swistak, I move to approve LLD policy 315 loan periods, accept modifications to LLD policy 315 loan periods.
You want a
This
second?
is Trustee Duffy. I second.
All right. Does the director want to? Secretary Swistak.
I
The
can if
director
you.
can, you can,
Okay.
go ahead. I'll
Okay.
chime in if I need to.
Okay, so the board has seen this before. All that it was changed here is we had an added asterisk, we had a footnote added, we reorganized the list to group like items, and then we struck a sentence that was actually incorrect in the previous policy. So it's very minor changes.
Trustee Swistak, do you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, we talked about it and really, but it wasn't really that much long of a discussion on this anyway. You know, for me, the big one was changing the limit of video games that patrons could check out at a time. That was a pretty big one for me. And then, well, that's it. We just would need to change the revised date at the bottom if we approve it tonight.
Good point.
Question for you, Emily.
Uh-huh.
Are we finding that in another packet?
What we're looking at right now,
Yeah.
it's on page 96.
Yeah, it's both.
So
This
page
one-
94 was the original with some strike throughs, and then the rewording in order is on page 95, and then page 96 it's all in brown text, and that's the updated policy. Clean copy, thank you.
Gotcha, thanks.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I was looking for, I don't know, some verbiage, but it's clear, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Trustee Bartel, do you have any questions or comments on this policy? If not, very yes.
No, I'm good with it. Thank you.
Trustee Duffy? Trustee Larson? Nothing. Trustee Norton?
Nothing.
And then Trustee Sullivan, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Trustee Swistak, good.
No, I'm good.
Roll call.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Karen Larson. Aye. Well, actually, Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
now Karen Larson. Aye. Jenny Moore.
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. Next item is approved LLD policy 660, environmental responsibility. Motion?
Okay, Secretary Swistak, I move to approve LLD policy 660, environmental responsibility, accept modifications to LLD policy 660, environmental responsibility.
Trustee Duffy, I second.
Director Weiss,
Sure. Again, the board has seen this before in the packet, and the original policy at the Lisle Library District was 2 sentences long, and the committee drafted an updated policy in 3 parts with an introduction. And there also a small modification to that, and it shows in green at the end of the item C. So we added "and the community" at the end of that after the first draft. So you should have a copy that has a lot of red on it, and then you should also have a clean copy in brown. That is it.
Secretary Swistak, do you have anything to add or?
Just in B5, the word "the" needs to be between "throughout" and "facility."
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's good.
Okay.
And then same thing, I think you'll have to revise the revised statement.
Yeah, and we will also have
Yes, the
to
revised date.
an amendment to the motion with an edit.
Okay.
So you have to make a motion on that.
Motion to amend.
Do I need to do that now, or should we wait until we've gone through everyone's discussion?
Give them just for like a wording edit. I mean, if it's just one word, I mean, we'll.
Why not?
Let's go around and then we'll have you make an amended motion. So Trustee Bartelli, do you have a question or comment on the policy?
No.
Trustee Duffy?
No questions. I mean, I think it's a broad policy that provides just some guidance, but it's by no means restrictive, I feel, within it. That was kind of our aim within the committee. So thank you.
Trustee Larson? Trustee Norton?
I just want to say that I appreciate all of the work by the policy committee. And this particular policy, I have no qualms with it. And I, like Trustee Duffy said, I appreciate that it's broad. I'm struggling to understand its real purpose. Like where is this going to serve us in the future? So you guys who worked on it deeply, can you kind of share with me what your thoughts are on how this is going to serve us in the future?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, you can start and then we'll.
I can start. Well, I think this all stemmed from, well, I don't think it all stemmed from, but we connected with the environmental group Scarce and I think it was February, March, April, to have more of a environmental impact in the community in terms of having a programming schedule, as well as we had a display, and we still have a display down on our adult floor to educate the public about the environment, as well as recycling and how-tos. And we had everything planned for March and April, and then of course we closed. And updating this policy made sense at the time because we were kind of walking down that path, this journey of becoming more environmentally responsible. So when we looked to see if we had a policy, we noticed that ours was only 2 sentences long. And so this is our first attempt at creating a more substantial policy that points to, yes, broad objectives, but we thought that this was a good first step in that environmental journey.
And did you seek out anything other than the brainstorming within the Personnel Policy Committee members, or did you gather feedback? Do other libraries or organizations that you know have a policy like this that you sort of built off of?
I have to think back into our Personnel Policy Committee meetings, and yes, we did. We tried to pull from other organizations, but I'll tell you this, not a lot of libraries had an environmental policy. We pulled from park districts. We pulled from, I can't remember, Beth or Chris, if you can remember, Emily, Tom. I can't off the top of my head, but we did pull from other organizations that did have environmental policies. So yes.
It was one of, you work with Scarce, they're kind of like the leaders in DuPage County.
We work with Scarce, but to pull from other organization policies, it was mostly park districts and maybe some schools. I can't tell you right now exactly, but.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for adding color to it. It kind of validated my thoughts, which is that I'd never really heard of policies like this, and it sounds like they're not commonplace, and that LLD is perhaps a leader in fleshing out a policy of this type.
Something like this, yes. Many libraries have maybe buried in another policy that, yes, we will recycle. Yes, we will, try to maintain certain services in terms of, being environmentally responsible, following the guidelines that are set forward by the state. But I don't think having a full-fledged policy is really commonplace in most public libraries, no.
Thanks for indulging my question.
You're welcome.
Trustee Swistek, anything to add to what the director said?
No, and actually, Trustee Duffy is the one who really spearheaded this one. So if there's anything else he would like to add, but I don't have anything to add to what the director said.
Trustee Duffy?
Way to put me on the spot here during the Zoom meeting. No, I think it, to Treasurer Norton, to your question, is I think it also is just more of a guiding policy than anything else. That's why there's not a lot of statements in there that you must adhere to. But when we kind of go through this process, maybe of programming, or as we go to our, whatever we decide in the future with any facility, however we do it, it gives a little bit more of a codification of how maybe as a board we could think about some of the certain elements that would have an environmental impact. I think that was sort of the goal in general.
Trustee Bartelli, I know you're on the committee as well. Do you have anything to add or answer Trustee Norton's question, or the director or the other trustees follow?
No, other than it was obvious that it was Trustee Duffy's baby.
There was nothing in there about excessive cleaning of the restroom, so I didn't see it had his fingerprints on it.
Well,
No. That's the next iteration. That's what that'll be at.
if bigger is better, Trustee Duffy, going from one sentence to a full page. Great job.
All right, Trustee Sullivan, any questions or comments on this policy?
No, it's no comments.
Trustee Swistak, anything else on the policy?
No, I just need to do a new motion as amended. So I move to approve LLD policy 660, environmental responsibility as amended.
This is Trustee Duffy. I second.
Yeah, and we'll go around.
All right, so we have an amended motion, which is just to add a word to the one, right? So we will do roll call. Well, anybody else have any question or comment on the policy? Good, all right, roll call.
Emily Sostek,
Aye.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Karen Larson, Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye. So do we have to vote again now, since the motion, did that just?
They can just die. No.
So, okay, motion passes. Next item is approve fiscal year 2020, 2021 LLD working budget. Have a motion, please.
This is Trustee Duffy. I move to approve FY 2020-21 LLD working budget.
This is Jenny Norton and I second.
Motion in a second. Did you want to?
Sure. Yeah. So the introductory budget document that is in the packet was adjusted to reflect the March board discussion on the budget and the administration's response to COVID-19 and its consequences on the next fiscal year. Footnotes were included to explain the adjustments. And what I'll say is that the board has already seen the budget in March and we had discussions. So these highlights in yellow are come from those discussions. The packet also has spreadsheets in them that were also adjusted to reflect the March board discussion as well. And additional columns were added to the previous spreadsheets. And I'm sorry if it's like a million columns, but I did want to show those adjustments in yellow. And then any significant changes that were made to the projected actuals are in red text. And then the previously proposed March proposal column is all in gray. So you can see the changes from gray to yellow in terms of percentages. So if we want to go through that introductory document, on the first page, the only change that is on the first page is in the employee costs, and that cost category was adjusted to reflect a total decrease of 0.12% as compared to the March 6th proposal showing an increase of 0.5%. And then if you flip the page, there are a couple adjustments there on building costs and contractual costs and personnel development costs and equipment costs, and I'll go over those. The Board of Trustees agreed to increase building costs, and here we go, Trustee Duffy, this category by $12,000 for additional cleaning services due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And then under contractual costs, the salary study was withdrawn, and that's a total of $5,000 from contractual costs. And that's just due to having higher priority needs in fiscal year 2021. And then the staff and service day was withdrawn. That's a total of $3,000 from the personnel development cost category. And I pulled that because staff have been participating in remote and online training and courses during our closure. And then lastly on this page, the physical material lines basically remain flat. However, we've adjusted a slight increase for allowances for more digital content and for platform fees in this line. And then if you flip the page, you see programs. And this category shows a fairly significant decrease of 19.10%. That's $8,500. And this adjustment basically recognizes that the current pandemic will undoubtedly affect all large group gatherings in the near and possibly distant future. So in sum, the newly adjusted May 2020 budget has a decrease of $33,532 from the total budget proposed back in March. And this decrease includes the addition of those enhanced cleaning services of $12,000, the withdrawal of the planned salary study, and the withdrawal of the in-service training day, as well as decreases in lines such as employee costs, personnel costs, and the program costs. Nothing else has changed since March except for those highlighted items. Any questions?
All right, and so we will take things alphabetically. Trustee Bartelli, do you have any questions on the working budget?
Yes, it's probably because math is not my forte, but we talk about the contractual. I assume that rose because of we're retaining sickage, but I'm trying to understand. We eliminated the financial director position, along with that the salary, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't know when that took effect. When that we did when the position became not effective. What part of the calendar year?
Wasn't July.
September,
September.
sorry, last September.
Last fall.
Last September. Okay.
Ish.
Should it be a larger decrease? How are we balancing that salary? Eliminating the salary, and I understand then and I don't know how that relates to the contractual cost of sickage. Is it evening out?
So I think she's asking like how much, you're basically just asking like what's the savings between sickage and the director's salary?
Right.
What's the savings between sickage and?
So like what the finance director's salary was and whatever we spend on the sickage, what's the difference in savings?
I wish I had that number off the top of my head. I will be able to get that to you. I don't want to throw out a number that I'm not.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
And I think we've only been paying sickage for at least the last couple months, I think pretty much since, except for the first few months that they were with us. It's under $2,000 a month, I know, right? It's like, I know, I mean, it's actually in the packet too, but I think it's like 1,800 or 1,600 a month.
It fluctuates depending on what we're working on, and it will fluctuate in the future. So when we do things like the B&A, it will probably increase a bit. If we implement a new accounting system, which was on the docket, they will spend more time in the building. I know initially when we first had them, obviously they had to learn our system, so they were in the building a lot longer. And it depends on who comes, whether it's a higher level staff or regular staff. So, yeah.
And just remember, it's not just the salary we're saving on, or the difference between the salary and the hourly rates. It's also the benefits, like health insurance, et cetera.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
All right.
But Tom, you should be able to calculate the loaded salary, right?
I mean, it's got to be at least 50,000, right?
I can get that to you.
Okay. Yeah, it's. I'm going to say it's easily 50,000.
50,000 annually?
50,000 just in salary. That's just salary. Like I said, I know. I mean, I can look why I.
Well,
Let me just here quickly. I'll just look really quick at our accounts payable report. And I can't find it. We paid sickage for the month of April. It was actually it's $1,041.50. So actually, this might be the March one, but in one of the months, we only paid sickage $1,041.50. And that's probably on the lower end. Give me a second, I will look for the one actually for this last one. We paid sickage, which is for like today's meeting for the month of April. We paid $1,408. So what is that? About $22,450 for the last 2 months. Does that sound like I remember nothing right? So that's 2 months is just 2,400. It's a little bit more.
Well, I can supply the,
Yeah, and the director will show this email the board with the numbers, the next day.
Fine.
Trustee Bartelli, do you have any more questions?
No, thank you.
Trustee Duffy?
No, none for me. This summary was very helpful as it had been a couple of months getting back into the budget. So thank you, Tatiana and Beth, for putting that together.
welcome.
Trustee Larson?
No, good questions, thanks.
Trustee Norton?
I agree. The summary was great. Quick question, because I'm sorry if I missed it, but in the changes, some of it is self-explanatory, like the needing for additional cleaning, and but the one I didn't know the reason for was the the withdrawal of the salary study. Could you comment on what the reasoning was for that?
Well, I figured it's got a couple of points regarding that because because of the closure, we have not gone through a staff evaluation process, and I don't imagine we will be doing that in the next month or two, I would say in the next quarter. So moving forward with the salary study at this time, I thought it could be postponed. It doesn't mean we couldn't do it in the next fiscal year. It's just that I thought just being sensitive to the current economic environment, that's something that can be postponed until possibly next fiscal year.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions, Trustee Norton?
Nope, that was one.
Trustee Sullivan?
Tatiana, just a quick question. I'm imagining that as the director of a library, you're kind of having to rethink what a library is and how it serves the public. Do you envision that the type of media will change, your purchasing? And if you could just speak on what you're thinking of. I don't know if it'll all stay the same. What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't imagine things will stay the same for sure. I know for a fact that, well, it's a board conversation, but really rethinking our physical space, that's going to be a new discussion with some fresh ideas, I imagine. As far as physical materials, I don't think we will ever be without them, but I imagine there may be some decrease in physical and increase in digital. And that doesn't only mean digital content via the platforms we have. We are looking at another digital content platform for the next fiscal year to supplement what we already do offer. And we're looking at other library platforms, calling them, asking if they have positive experiences with them, making sure that they fit within our budget. So yes, I see more digital content platforms. I see more pick up and go programming. The larger group, and again, I don't want to, I'm not a scientist, but if there is a vaccine and if everything gets back to normal, We could see something more like we saw maybe 6 months ago here, but if not, I see a lot of different options in terms of what we can do via programming, via pick up and go programming, online platform programming, maybe small group programming, things like that. Am I answering your question? I'm going all over the place, but.
Oh, that's exactly what I wanted to know, because I would imagine, you know, my head's going all over the place and your head's got to be spinning twice as fast.
Everybody's head spinning. All the directors, we're all talking, and staff too. We're connecting with the other libraries and seeing what is working, what is not working. And I know the board will have some future discussion about the space, because I mean, just outside of the public interaction, some of our workspaces aren't made for the current situation, especially the administrative offices. So we may need to reallocate some desk space in different parts of the library.
Okay, that gives all of us a heads up of what might be coming. Thank you.
Trustee Swistak.
I just wanted to say thank you for being so thorough and detailed in this, especially since I wasn't part of the discussion in person in March. I feel kind of out of it, so I'm glad that I had this to kind of help me bring it all back together, and I just really appreciate all the work that was put into it.
Thank you.
Again, I'll just echo what some of the trustees have said. I'd like to thank the director and staff that helped out on this for the work they've done on the budget around in March, and even now with the revisions here for May. And I'm sure the situation's fluid, you know, it depends what's going on in the world pretty much. So we'll see, but looks like we got at least a plan. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the budget? All right, so we can have a roll call.
Thomas Duffy,
Aye.
Jenny Norton,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Karen Larson. Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye, motion passes. All right, next item is for opportunity for trustee comments. Go alphabetically. Trustee Bartelli.
I'd just like to comment on the Facebook posts. I'm not a big Facebook user, but I've thoroughly enjoyed them from every department, and also your updates, Tatiana, great plus. And also, even though Tom has to remind me to look at my email, your communications with what you're doing, status, and so on and so forth, the entire staff has just been fantastic. I think I must be an email person, because I'm retaining much more by your emails than attending our meetings. That's a bad thing to say. Maybe it's the written word that I do better at than hearing it. So anyway, thank you very much. It's been great.
You're welcome.
Trustee Duffy.
So I think I'm not taking 5 minutes, so don't worry. You know, I first wanted to just take a moment to recognize that the Lisle residents that have passed away from COVID-19. I mean, we have lost several residents due to this pandemic. I know a lot of people have been impacted by this virus, myself included. I actually had a death in my extended family circle due to COVID. You know, and I want to again echo everything. I applaud the director and President Hummel. This is not something anyone gets trained for, and the foresight, the transparency, and the effective communication has been top notch. That's all you can ask for. And I think the staff, I've thanked them for also being thrown into something and picking up whatever they need to do. I mean, I kind of said this before, you know, and Johnson, you talked about it. I don't know what post-COVID-19 norm is any longer, what a library will look like come after all of this. I do know that we're not going to have our vaccine in the next few months, and the longer that people get used to doing this, right? Zoom and GoToMeeting and doing all this stuff, it does change how we consume and interact with each other. So I know that from a library perspective, there's a lot there. You know, the final comment I have is I know our community is going to be hurting now for a prolonged time. Many are going to lose or have lost their jobs, become caregivers, or patients themselves. So I know even as a library, we have ways in which we can help. You know, ask if we're out of work residents, if we have volunteer opportunities to keep their skills sharp or to help educate our residents. I think thinking about waiving all fines is another way to help even a small little step for our residents. And then I know we've had some emails about this, about increasing the internet capabilities to the actual parking lot for full coverage. This would be something that would be beneficial to the community if they can interact the same way that they've done before with us. I think we all know that this virus is going to stay for a while, unfortunately, and its continued presence is definitely going to disrupt what we want to do. And I think that as long as we adapt to it, we should be able to help serve the community. So thank you.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Well, Trustee Larson.
Thanks for everything. I mean, the updates are great. Like Marjorie was saying, Facebook and see you guys on Instagram. Good, you know, times will be changing. It's the reality.
Yeah. Trustee Norton.
Just want to reassure Vice President Bartelli that it's okay to be a reading learner. I am one of those as well, and I absorb better through the written word, so you're not alone. And we do appreciate the director and staff, all the additional written information. As I mentioned earlier, I really like those departmental reports. So echoing what you said in a way. And I won't even try to follow up with what Trustee Duffy said. He really summed it up great. We're in a whole new world, and I'm glad we're in this as a group. I do want to say that, you know, that from a collaboration standpoint, I'm very humbled and honored to be here.
Thank you. Trustee Sullivan.
First of all, I'm going to learn how to turn this mute button on and off a little quicker by the time this is all over. But I just got to thank everybody, especially the director and staff, because this is like nothing you could have prepared for. This is, I mean, this is like a horror novel. And, you know, I think the Lisle Library has always had this great reputation. It's like the little jewel of Lisle. And I think, you know, we just continue to offer the things that are core to the people of Lisle. And I think the fact that they miss it, which is evident, is a good thing. And I think the fact that we're going to offer curbside sometime this month is a good thing. And I think if we can offer, especially as money gets tight, some people will be not able to afford their internet services. If we can go ahead and cover the parking lot, I think that would be a good thing. So my hat's off to you, Tatiana, and the staff. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Trustee Swisdale.
Kind of want to echo what some of the other trustees have said. I'm just really appreciative of all the communication. As I said before, the updates via email from Tatiana have been phenomenal. Also, all the social media posts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. it's just been enjoyable, and just watching the videos that the staff is putting out has been a lot of fun too, and just getting, you know, other ideas about what we can do and while we're at home, and has just been very helpful. And I just really appreciate all the hard work.
You. I'll go last. I'll just echo what pretty much everybody said, thanking the director and the staff for all their effort. I agree. Trustee Swistek just said about the social medias, picked up the videos. Some of them have been pretty entertaining. So well, it was very, so it's been very good. I know the director and staff has worked hard on videos with editing. So I mean, I believe the views have been pretty good on there too. So I think they're getting out there. I know some of them have, I think, well over 1,000 views, right?
Some do, and I'll say this, that I have a whole new appreciation for video editors because I've been working on it, and our communications coordinator, just so we could get as many out as possible. And it is a different whole ball of wax for me to do that kind of stuff. And we do have a very talented staff, so I appreciate them so much. They've been kind of going outside of their comfort zones in a lot of these, and everybody's been participating. So yeah, and I just wanted to mention, I know Trustee Sullivan mentioned that we will be offering curbside this month. We're actually shooting for May 18th. So hopefully by Monday, we will have everything out and all of the information out to the public by the 18th.
And then I'll just continue a little bit. I know a couple of the trustees just mentioned about the internet service in the parking lot. I mean, it's something we definitely can discuss as a board. Just quickly, I know there's a couple of things we have to consider, like the social distancing, just monitoring the parking lot. Those are like two things we got to take into consideration if we go down that road. But that's something we could probably discuss pretty soon. And honestly, some of that might even be seasonal. I mean, in the summer it might work, wintertime maybe not so much. So I mean, we could probably discuss that if we future. The other thing I will add is, you know, normally this month we would have done the director evaluation, but I figured in this format isn't the best. So it will be delayed, and it'll be done in concert with the library's evaluation of staff, which the director briefly touched upon. So probably in the next quarter we'll do the director evaluation. I didn't know how this was going to work, quite frankly. Actually, better than I expected. So I'd rather have this one simple. We'll see where we're at in coming months. With that, I guess ready for a motion to adjourn. Somebody got to make a motion to adjourn.
This is Trustee Duffy. I move to adjourn.
Like
This is Sullivan, I'll second.
Trustee Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. We are adjourned at 8:23.